Thanks, Tom. Thanks so much for joining me today for this conversation. We are going through unprecedented times, and especially like any other downturn, the staffing industry has also been severely impacted by this one as well. A lot of our beliefs as organization, as individuals, have been challenged. How do you see staffing industry pivoting as events unfold in next few months?
Sure. A couple of things. As you said, the staffing industry has been adversely affected. A lot of people don't realize that, the top 4 or 5 companies in the staffing industry represent probably a 100 billion US dollars in revenue. So it's a very, very large industry.
Yeah,
And when people aren't working, or there's less demand for work, less demand to search for new workers,
yeah,
that industry is adversely impacted, right?
yeah,
It's interesting. I think that if you look at it and you look at the workforce in general, organizations that are more focused on general staffing, so blue collar, i.e., labor, or white collar, which is more administrative, they've
yeah,
got hit really hard. Probably a
yes,
little bit less so in the technology world.
yeah,
Some of the large tech companies and a lot of the banks and insurance and telcos have either, if they haven't grown, have done actually a very good job at trying to keep people working.
yeah,
So I think it depends where you are. The next few months are going to be interesting, right? Because, it's great that those organizations have kept people working. The challenge is, how long can they keep that up,
yeah.
right? And I think hopefully as we start to emerge from this whole isolation period and COVID period, business comes back. I think it's going to be a challenging few months for sure.
Yeah. The so the current model of staffing industry was already under a shift due to automation, use of AI, MSPs, and commodification as well. Um, and then also, like, what's your vision for the future of staffing industry? Events like the one we are experiencing currently can sometime accelerate the pace of disruption. So, would love to hear your vision on what the staffing industry would look like.
Yeah, sure. A lot of people don't know the way the staffing industry really works. It's very labor intensive. It's an old industry, and it's gone through lots of technology changes over the years. As you said, MSPs, which are,
Yeah,
organizations that will come into a large company and assist them to manage their hiring of external people, whether it's permanent people coming in to work full time or it's contract people that come in to work on an interim basis.
yeah,
Things like job boards have made changes. Um, Internal technology and recruiting tools, but it's still a very labor intensive industry. A lot of people don't realize there are hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of recruiters at client sites, i.e., banks, telcos, insurance, all of those companies, as well as recruiting companies that spend hundreds of thousands, millions of man hours a year searching the internet, looking for resumes, talking to people, doing a lot of screening. And that's going to change for sure
yeah,
as time goes on. As tools improve, as AI improves to be able to match those skill sets to the jobs that are out there, I think the recruiter's job is going to become more and more to make sure they really understand their client well, they understand the needs of that client, they understand the needs of that candidate,
yes,
and make sure they make the match, not so much from the skills point of view, because I think tech will be able to do that, but really truly making sure they're a proper fit behaviorally, and emotionally as well for the client that they're going to build. Make sure the culture works.
yeah. So the skill shortages that exist currently and the economic uncertainty is not going to go away anytime soon. As staffing companies start ramping up again, what should their teams be doing differently now?
Yeah, it's a challenge. Right now, what I recommend to anybody in the staffing industry is, really make sure that you're building those relationships. So the manager that may have 6 months ago been hiring from you, en masse, they might not be in that opportunity today, but you've got a chance to build relationships with them in what can be considered, in some cases, a little bit of downtime. In other cases, those managers are even busier because of that. But in many cases, you've got some downtime and you can reach out and really, again, try and effectively understand their organization and also find out if that manager themselves may have needs. Their own job may be in jeopardy,
Yeah,
and use that relationship to help either their company down the road or help them as people, as individuals down the road. It's
yeah,
also a great time to try and build relationships and really get to understand the candidate pool. A few months ago, we really at the top of the cycle. I've been in the industry almost 25 years,
Yeah.
and I don't know that I've ever seen a period where unemployment was as low, skills were as short,
Yeah.
and demand was as high, all at the same time. It was a little bit of a
Yes.
perfect storm, made it extremely difficult to find great resources.
Yeah.
And, right now is a time where you can retool a little bit and look and speak to some of those people and find out who is in a role that they enjoy and who's looking for other roles, and really prepare yourself for the future.
Yeah. Okay. The way wind is blowing currently, it looks like the remote workforces are here to stay. And do you see a future where employers engaging multiple agencies across the globe, not only the country, and has local geographic presence lost its meaning for staffing agencies?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I don't think the local geography has lost its meaning. I think it still matters. There's an opportunity in your community to try and support your community, whether that's your local employer or your local candidate, your local worker. But at the same time, you're right. The remote environment has really it's created some opportunities. It's created opportunities for people to work in the remote location. So, there are now products in the world that allow people to go online, bid, find work to do, and do it remotely. If it's, again, that's different than a labor type of work, but in terms of technology
Yeah.
and programming, things of that nature.
Yeah.
It also means the world is much smaller. So you can find better resources or great resources around the world where,
Yeah.
for a long time that really didn't exist. And if there was a shortage in your community, well, it was tough to deal with. Where
Yeah.
now you have access to outside reach and bringing people in, and Canada's been really the recipient of that in the tech world for quite a while. If you go to our tech communities, where those of us in the tech space, we're all colors and religions and come from all different geographies, and
Yeah.
that's that the need for it in technology is really it's made it a very flavorful and very dynamic place to work.
For sure. Absolutely. On a personal note, what's your takeaway from this crisis, and what will you be doing differently now?
Well, for one thing, I mean, one of the earliest takeaways I got is that I'm definitely not a barber.
Yeah.
And, there are some specialties out there, teachers and barbers, and that every now and then, if you think you know how to do their job, you're mistaken. You just have to look around at
Yeah.
the challenges we're all having educating our kids, the challenges that we're having just keeping up with things like haircuts,
Yeah.
and I think it's interesting. I think what that shows us is that maybe we have to be a little more prepared than we thought we had to be, whether it's
Yes.
a pandemic or just opportunity drives the fact that maybe you're going to work from home, or maybe you're going to be one of these people who works cross border from home. And I think the preparation to be able to work in a different environment and different space requires maybe a little more thought than some of us had given it previously.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for your time, Tom. Thanks for stopping by and sharing your thoughts. Much appreciated.
Oh, you're very welcome, Jared. It's great talking to you.